I'm joined now by Peter Vincent, the Assistant Director General for International Policy at BORDERPOL. That's a coalition of border experts supporting governments and international organizations that actively promote safe travel. Peter, thanks for joining us. ISIL is claiming responsibility for this attack. Just within the last hour, there are these new reports that the CIA actually warned Spanish authorities that something could happen there in Barcelona a couple of months ago. Just want to get your reaction to what is happening here.
This is obviously a horrific and tragic event that we should all be saddened and sickened by, but frankly, we should not be shocked or surprised. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula warned way back in 2010 through its slickly produced webzine Inspire, and the so-called Islamic State through its spokesperson and one of its founders, Abu Muhammad al-Adnani, actually called on adherents of the so-called Islamic State to use any means necessary to kill. He, in fact, suggested, very infamously, that the adherents use a rock to crush the skull of their targets, to use a knife to slaughter them, to throw people up from a high place, and to run over them with a car. So this is not at all surprising, and we have examples, obviously, in places like Stockholm and Berlin and Nice, France, and in our own country here in the United States, in Ohio and London, and then most recently in Charlottesville, Virginia. I think this is a perfect example of why all nation states need to work together to share information and to share intelligence and to share evidence in a way that is unparalleled. And in this particular case, it does appear that U.S. Intelligence agencies provided some information to their counterparts in Spain, and I believe that the Moroccan authorities likewise provided very valuable intelligence. However, it's extraordinarily difficult to separate what is really important in what might be thousands of electronic messages and telephone calls, and to really pinpoint where the terrorists may be targeting on any particular day in any particular place.
Couple of questions regarding that. I mean, you mentioned the coordination. We've seen this time and time again, as you mentioned. Would you describe the coordination among governments better or worse than it was last year, 2 years ago? But we keep seeing these events happen over and over again.
Elaine, it's an excellent point. And we keep saying as an international community that we're going to share more information. Certainly, we do a better job than we did back in 2001. And the United States is particularly close to a number of its allies across the world. The United States does share information in this case with Spain. However, we can continue to do a better job on breaking down artificial barriers and jurisdictional infighting to really share in a trusting way across the global community information regarding potential threats or individuals that appear to become radicalized. And we have lots of sources of that information. People talk to one another. Many individuals have a very robust digital trail that they leave, either through social media postings. So we need to work together to really continue to break down those barriers that you're referring to, Elaine.
Peter, we're seeing another soft target, another popular destination, and that is always packed with people. A vehicle, once again, being used to ram into folks. London, Paris, we went down the line. Why is something like this so difficult to prevent or to watch for? I mean, normally we're seeing more officers and other authorities on patrol in some of these heavily trafficked areas, but why is it so hard to keep this from happening?
Vehicles are an extraordinarily low-tech but extremely lethal vehicle of death, mayhem, and murder. And terrorists know, as you point out, that there are soft targets everywhere. Las Ramblas, one of the great promenades in the world. I have spent quality time there myself. And terrorists, unfortunately, tend to be quite savvy and quite sophisticated. And they will look for gaps in the global counterterrorism infrastructure. And they know that those areas, especially tourist areas that bring a lot of people in, are especially vulnerable, and that they will, in fact, achieve one of their goals when they are killing innocent men, women, and let's not forget children, because it sends a chill across the globe. And as much as we can do to harden various types of facilities, government facilities, we don't want to live in a society that is essentially a police state. We don't want to trade liberty and freedom for complete security, because that's a false measure. There is no such thing as complete security. We have to find that delicate balance. And as good as the Spanish authorities are, and as you mentioned, they hadn't had this type of terrorist attack since 2004, where 192 individuals perished. There are so many global threats that it's almost impossible to stop these networks, and it's certainly impossible to stop a so-called lone rat.
All right, Peter Vincent, always great to hear your insight. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Elaine.